Our topic today is sharing how public speaking truly matters as a transferable skill that you apply immediately in the workplace. So tell us a little bit about the kind of work that you do and what do you find most important in terms of your skills from public speaking that you use in your job?
Thank you first and foremost for having me. I'm so
My
excited to
pleasure.
share a little bit. Um, well, my job is I'm a clinical research assistant at Robertwood Johnson Medical School, specifically in the OBGYN department. And my role is to enroll patients in our studies, talk to them about our studies, see if they're interested in participating, emphasizing that it's completely voluntary, and sharing all the knowledge that I have regarding the study, answering their questions. And you can imagine that it is a lot of speaking. I spend most of the day approaching patients and talking to them. And so public speaking was very critical in teaching me those skills that I now use in my work every single day to talk to patients.
We talk about so many things in public speaking class, from developing strong writing in the speeches, organizing the content, engaging our audience, getting to know who it is that we're speaking to, being sensitive to other people's needs. What area specifically from our class, or was there an area specifically that really stood out to you the most that is helping you in your current role and the way that you communicate with patients?
I would say definitely audience analysis. And as you mentioned, some people might be more sensitive to certain things than others. And so understanding the circumstances surrounding when I'm approaching a patient, sometimes I'm approaching a patient and they're not having the best day, but you have to kind of use context clues to analyze your audience. I'm approaching pregnant women primarily. And so pregnant women sometimes are not in the best mood because of everything going on, or they may have a difficult pregnancy, and you may not know all those circumstances, but it is extremely important to kind of use those context clues when you're talking to patients. Sometimes the way that you organize what you say, so the structure of my speeches or my conversation with patients also matters. I One of the studies that I'm currently working on is regarding preeclampsia, which is something that can be very scary in pregnancy. And I'm approaching women who are healthy and are not at risk for it, and women who also have it. And so the way that I approach each of those two populations is different. I approach the patients who are healthy, I remind them that I'm not approaching them because they're at risk for it, because imagine if I told them, oh, I want to enroll you in a study for preeclampsia, and they're kind of like, wait, my doctor didn't tell me anything about that. I didn't know that I had that. So it's very important the way that you speak to them about it. And then when I'm speaking to the patients who do have it, I don't want to scare them any further. I'm not their doctor, so I can't, take on that role. And so audience analysis is very important, and the way that we structure how we speak.
I love hearing how the skill that we learned in terms of large scale speaking, small scale speaking to groups of people really applies on a one on one level too. If you could just state your message in a sentence for the audience, what do you think the core message you want people to take away is?
That's a great question. One sentence. The core message that I want to share with you all today is that public speaking is important in every aspect of life. And when you move forward from this class, you will apply it.
Any favorite memories from the class standing out to you when you think back? I know you actually graduated 2 years ago. And
Yes.
let me ask you, remind me, what did you study when you were at the university?
I studied exercise science, and at the time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be pre med or not. I was kind of going back and forth. And since I graduated, I started working as a scribe, which you don't do a lot of talking, you do a lot of listening. And then I moved on to the job that I have now, where I do a lot of talking and listening. Um, but when I was at Rutgers, I think that one of the most memorable things in your class was just the energy that everyone provided. And you created such a great space for it. Even when giving feedback and when others were giving feedback to us, everyone was very respectful. And it felt like a great learning environment for me. I recall my last speech was motivating, I think, everyone to travel. And I remember feeling so proud because I don't know how to use animations. I'm not very good with technology. And I remember that I did that and I incorporated that into my speech because I wanted to do a really good job. And that's the thing that I really appreciated about your class. Just the energy you bring and the energy that the class brings because of that. Like the combination, it just really motivated me to do better and to work harder. And I remember that final project just working really hard because I wanted to do a really good job. And I think that you gave me an award on the last day of class. And that was just a really good memory for me.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And yet another skill, right? Visual presentations, being able to create slide decks that resonate with the audience, that look good. So many things that you've been able to carry forward. And I love hearing that. It is important to me to create an environment that is conducive to learning and also helps us have a good time together. At the end of the day, I want to enjoy the time with my students, and I do. And it's so good to know that those moments were memorable for you. And I didn't give you an award. You won an award. It was a People's Choice Award. You know, it
Right.
was you were selected by your
It was.
peers to earn that award. So it did not come just from me. As a matter of fact, I don't vote. I don't participate in the People's Choice Awards. It is comes directly from the people. So awesome to go back in time and think about that. And I love knowing that the content from the class has provided value to you on a professional level. So super exciting. So what do you think is the next skill that you're working on? Something that you're thinking, okay, to get to this next level in my professional life and communication, this is what I need to do. Is there anything that you're working on?
I'm working on developing more my research skills. I've been doing really well enrolling patients. All those public speaking parts are definitely there, and they're really helping me enroll patients in our studies. It's been great. I'm trying to more develop the analytical side of research, where I try to analyze the data, understand why there are certain trends, or maybe just draw my own conclusions. So that's what I'm working on now.
In public speaking, we most definitely talk about research, citing our sources, finding credible sources, but we don't get into the level of research analysis like you need right now for your current role. So that's exciting that you're challenging yourself there and growing in that.
You mentioned something about citing sources. I do cite sources when I speak to my patients as well. These are all skills that I did learn in public speaking. I always make sure to emphasize because it can be scary to enroll in a research study when we don't know what the outcome will be. And so whenever I speak to these patients, I always make sure to cite sources and reassure them to ask questions. And whenever they are weary, I kind of take context clues a little bit and see what the situation is like, and I reassure them. And I always emphasize the importance that it's all voluntary what we do. But I kind of always emphasize as well um, my go-to phrase is you're benefiting a greater population, because if we're able to implement some of the things that we're working on at the moment, you'd be benefiting a population of pregnant people, which is a massive population. And often I see the light switch go off there where they're kind of like, you know what, you're right, I want to benefit other people, I wouldn't want other people to go through this that I might be going through. And so that I definitely see the persuasive speech, that is all I do all day long.
Interesting. And of course, this triggers for me the persuasive appeals that we learn in class: ethos, logos, and pathos. And for those of you listening who are not familiar with the terms, get ready because I'm about to teach them to you. Ethos is all about establishing credibility, how our audience can get to know, like, and trust us. So, Priscilla, that applies directly in your job too, for your patients to get to know, like, and trust you. Then, logos. This is where logic comes from, right? And so now we're talking, this is where we cite sources and bring up research and data and information. And then there's pathos, which is about being empathetic and appealing to emotions in an ethical way. And persuasive speaking has a lot to do with that, right? And that's why we have to understand our audience too, to know what's important to them, what really matters. And it sounds like you are appealing to most people have a desire to be a part of something bigger than themselves, to contribute to society, to do something meaningful for others. If you had to put your message on a t-shirt, what does your t-shirt say? Your message on a t-shirt.
My message on a t-shirt would be very clear and concise. It would say public speaking translates into everything.
Awesome. And I really hope I get a chance to create some of these t-shirts one day because you guys all come up with such great ideas for them. I love them. We haven't talked about self-care just yet, but that is very important to me and to share with our audience and for us to talk about too. So, what's the most recent thing that you did to take really good care of yourself?
Most recent thing that I did to take care of myself was not study. That sounds counterintuitive because I'm studying for my MCAT, as we mentioned before, but I felt very overwhelmed and I decided to take a pause on my studying and make sure that I was doing it at the right moment. I had, working 40 hours a week while studying most of my free time. I decided to take a pause and I stepped back. I looked at the big picture and I realized that wasn't the perfect moment for me. And so when I got more comfortable in my job, I started studying again. And that was the best decision because I was able to relax, fully immerse myself because it was a new job at the moment. And I was studying and working 40 hours a week at a new job. And I can say that now I feel much more prepared to do that because I feel more comfortable in the role. I've gotten accustomed to the way that I interact with patients. I'm more confident in my job as well. And just taking that step back and looking at the big picture and realizing that I did need a little bit more time. That was definitely important.
I hear that, and I'm sure everybody listening feels the same way or has felt the same way at some point in their lives. We all need to take breaks. Sometimes I have to remind myself that be still, take a break, walk away. So that is also an excellent, excellent reminder. What's a tip that you have for current public speaking students, people in the class this semester right now? We just finished up persuasive speaking. People are getting ready for their team mediated speeches. What's a tip that you would love to give current students and future students?
Enjoy it. It's really fun. There's I was stressed out sometimes because I wanted to do a perfect job, but it's a really fun class. There are very important assignments that you're going to complete that you won't even realize in the moment how important they will be later on because you will draw on those skills in your day-to-day life. But in the moment when you're in the class, enjoy it. Sit back, get to know your classmates. I actually took the class at night and I commuted to Rutgers. I commuted for my entire undergrad and I remember I left it on my schedule and I was kind of like, I don't really want to take this class at this time. And I decided to give it a shot. And so I went to class. Then I met Tatiana and I was like, I have to stay in this class. And I think I told her on the last day of class that I wanted to switch out, but I decided not to because I really enjoyed the structure of the class. I enjoyed the way that on the first day, people kind of let loose a little bit, and it was such a great time. And so have fun. Take it seriously, but have fun.
Yes. Amen. Exclamation mark. Highlight. Score. I love that. Absolutely. I agree. It's also the way I try to live my own life and enjoy the time in the classroom. Like for me, the ability to work hard and play hard is very important. Like I love finding groups and dynamics where we can do both. We take seriously the work that we need to get done, but it's also enjoyable and we get to treat each other like human beings, like people and enjoy the time we have together. So I love that message. Thank you so much for that love and the shout out. I'm really feeling it. Another question for you to think about is what would your message be to your 18-year-old self? At this point, you've graduated, you've been working, it's been about 2 years since graduation, you're in your professional world, you're studying for your MCATs, you want to go to medical school, you have dreams, you have goals. But what if you could go back in time and talk to your 18-year-old self? What do you say? The key here is that you only have 15 seconds. So what do you say to 18-year-old Priscilla, knowing what you know now?
It gets better and things get more manageable. Things will feel impossible sometimes, but it definitely gets better. And college can be very scary and very difficult, but you learn to navigate through. And when you don't know what to do, seek help from others. Go to people who can guide you and help give you the resources that you need to navigate the situation. But it definitely will get better, and you will get better at navigating them as well.
Love that positive message for students and know, like, hey, there is light at the end of the university tunnel. Things do get better. You're absolutely right. And I appreciate your time and your heart and your energy. And it feels so good to even hear your voice, see your face, and hear all the good things going on in your life.
Thank you so much.